So with that, good morning again, and the first session, New and Emerging Technologies in Construction, where we look into these new technologies, the state-of-the-art technologies, Industry 4.0, building information modeling, artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, smart construction, all which can bring in greater efficiency, cost efficiency, time efficiency, productivity, help us in more improving sustainability in construction and maintaining projects. And it's going to be through various case studies that we are going to be showcasing how the leveraging on these technologies have made an impact on the project timelines and the outcomes. I invite our distinguished speakers of the session, and I would like to request Mr. K.V. Haseeb, Ahmed, the co-chairman of the CREDAI MSME committee, to please escort them on the dais. He's going to be moderating the session. Our first panelist of the session, Mr. Sandeep Roy, the Senior Vice President and Head of the Central Design and Engineering Team at DLF Limited, looking after pan-India project performances, setting up organizational design and engineering standards, and guiding tech initiatives for the company with an eye for the present and the future. Welcome to Mr. Sandeep Roy. We have Ms. Garima Bharadwaj, the co-founder, CTO of Enlite. She, ladies and gentlemen, brings in, she was here with us. Okay, so meanwhile, I'll introduce her for you. She brings in a wealth of experience from her foundational roles in high-growth startups such as OYO and then the Mons company as a founding member. Garima, ladies and gentlemen, has a proven track record of scaling businesses and leading complex initiatives from inception to fruition. At Enlite, she leverages this expertise to drive technological innovation, steering the company towards pioneering sustainable building management. So welcome to Garima as our esteemed panelist of the session. So over to our moderator.
Very good morning to all. Being the first session, as usual, more tables and chairs than participants. The construction industry is undergoing profound transformation driven by a wave of innovative technologies that are reshaping the way buildings and infrastructure are designed, built, and managed. These emerging technologies are not just novelties, but powerful tools that promise increased efficiency, cost savings, and sustainability in construction practices. The evolution of construction technology is often ascribed to new heavy equipment. But alongside these developments are breakthroughs in connected technologies too. The tools extend from the field to the office and even to the boardroom. Some of the most groundbreaking advancements and game changers are 3D printing, BIM, augmented and virtual reality, drone surveys, the Internet of Things, robotic automation, artificial intelligence, and data collection, to name only a few. Smart infrastructure and building system, integrated technologies for energy management, security, and maintenance are becoming a commonplace, enhancing operational efficiency and occupant comfort. As these transformative technologies continue to evolve, they are poised to revolutionize the construction industry further. However, their widespread adoption hinges on factors such as cost effectiveness, regulatory compliance, industry acceptance, and technological advancements. The integration of these emerging technologies represent a pivotal moment in the construction, promising a future where projects are executed with increased precision, efficiency, sustainability, and cost effectiveness. Embracing these innovations are just not a choice, but a necessity for the industry to evolve and meet the demands of tomorrow's built environment. As the industry evolves, even more remarkable advancements can be expected in the coming years. This morning we have with us two experts to dwell upon these topics. Mr. Sandeep Roy, Senior VP and Head of Design and Engineering at DLF Limited, and Mrs. Garima Bharadwaj, Co-founder and CTO at Enlite. I first request Mr. Sandeep Roy to make his presentation.
Okay, so I have been introduced, so I'll just go forward and give you a little preamble of where we are coming from. The central design and engineering team in DLF is kind of an umbrella division which has many specialties inside. For example, architecture, structure, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, facade, firefighting, etc., etc. However, about a few years ago, our chairman in its vision, he created this little team which we call the Digitech Transformation Team, or in short, the Digitech team. What their job is quite interesting. A few young engineers from our industry have been dedicated to find out what is happening all across the world in with these new technologies that we keep on hearing about. So their job is to scour the globe and India, because Indian startup ecosystem is also very, very active, and try to find out what is happening, but not just what is happening, very importantly, what is appropriate to us and what is applicable to us. Obviously, this whole domain today is vast. There is a lot of things we keep on hearing. Shavitji mentioned quite a few. We are talking of artificial intelligence, we are talking of machine learning, we are talking of robotics, cloud solution, blah, blah, blah. Even we get confused. I am a poor architect with some project management background of 30 years of work, and so are my team. Our job is not to go into the technology. We are very clearly applicators, and we only ask, what is there in it for my business? And that is the key question I believe everyone in this room from the developers community is asking when they see something new. Okay, it's a wow factor, but does it make sense for me to use it? So that is the answer that we are looking for today. And what we will do is, I will just, before I go into the real issues, one or two things is that we will present certain case studies that we have found in DLF, not in terms of case studies, but more in terms of technology. But we have selected for this particular session, I have selected a few which I think is applicable not just for a large enterprise like DLF, but it has to be applicable from everything down to micro, small, medium, and large enterprises, so that everyone in this gathering has some takeaway from it. And my first subject, I just came to it, this is something I really hate talking about because it's a much used and abused term. It has almost become a jargon. It has been talked about for 10 years, but there's a reason I'm bringing it. See, I started, when 30 years ago, I graduated 30 years ago after 7 years of study. When I was studying architecture, we were in the age of protractors and set squares and T-squares and pencils and papers to erase something we had used to blades. From there, 2 years into my work life, I realized there was something called AutoCAD, and that was the first time we came into this whole CAD design system. In the next 28 years to today, and let's say in the next 15 years, there was no substitution for AutoCAD. It has completely taken over the entire manual drawing system across the board. BIM today is not a new thing. I have been talking about it, or I have been hearing about it or studying it for about 10 years now. It is in a position right now and in that transition zone now. What it needs is adoption. Most of the larger developers are patronizing, and this whole process has to be patronized by the developer community, and then it will only be successful if it is taken up by the entire environment, the ecosystem that we work with. And by ecosystem, I mean our consultants, our contractors, our vendors, everybody. I mean, I was talking of vendors, and I was looking at Dorset because, for example, Dorset has all these small items. BIM, as you know, whoever is aware of it, works with models, small models. So if Dorset can put all its products up there for free for everybody's download, it will be architects. It will make the life easy for all architects to download it and get it done. So let's move in. I just wanted to cover, I'm not here to give a whole lecture about BIM. I just want to talk why is it important for the developer community to adapt it. And there are a couple of pain points that we all feel. Number one, coordination. Initially, what we were doing, the traditional information sharing method, was everybody was talking to everybody. It worked to some extent. Then we tried to put either an architect as a coordinator or sometimes a project manager as a coordinator. Sometimes the developers themselves became the project manager and appointed enough people to coordinate these. But the complications in the buildings with all these new technologies, all these security concerns that you mentioned, all these coming in, it is now practically becoming impossible for any one agency to manage all these data flow and keep everybody updated at the same time. So what we are moving to now, and what BIM essentially does, is a common data environment. And this is important for a developer. Why? Because what the common data environment, or we internally call it the single point of truth, everybody now speaks to that one building model. And everybody is doing a work out of that model and putting it in, and the moment he puts in, within a few seconds, if somebody is picking up that drawing, they will always get, not just drawings, documents also, they will always get the latest updated drawing version. This takes us to a whole lot of advantages. Now, I won't go through this. This is too long for my 15 minutes thing. I can spend an hour on this. But I will come back to our second pain point. Mr. Irani yesterday said doing things right the first time. And that is extremely important for us because we waste a lot of time. It's a very fancy way to say things, virtual model, earlier communication, earlier conflict detention. What it does is, if we are building the whole building digitally first, at a nominal cost of actually building it finally, we have been able to get up to 98% accuracy with very, very nominal changes happening when the project is ongoing at site, and therefore avoiding delays or avoiding changes or avoiding wastage of materials also. Extremely important, and this has been one of our major pain points, and I'm sure every developer from S, M, E or L has felt that. And the second one that I will highlight is about accuracy of quantities, accuracy, and therefore accuracy of cost. In many ways, our estimates go haywire because at one point of time when we were doing pencil drawings, if we were getting the accuracy to 60% level, AutoCAD brought it to 80% level. Now again, we are 95 plus percentages that we are that much accurate with our quantities. Also, what it helps us is to predict the costs, and this is very important for us, not only cost, but predict all the quantity requirements that will come into future. These are some compelling reasons, absolutely compelling reasons for all developers to start adopting this, and more the developers will push, more the ecosystem will grow, and more everybody will come online, and only the developers can drive this. I will come to my next point, and before I go into this, there is another reason that I came to BIM first. BIM is becoming like an ecosystem for a lot of other applications to climb on that. It is like your Android OS or iOS. They are the operating systems, and then on top of that, there are number of applications, thousands of applications which are being developed, which enhances what that operating system can do. Now, if you have done a model, then we are finding that there are tons and tons of these applications which are available now in the market, which works on top of BIM and makes your life that much easy. I will tell you why this is something and what this is. Here is a case. BIM solved our quantity problem, BIM solved our coordination problems, design change problems. But we at DLF faced another problem. In DLF, we have quite a few what we call our own design standards. My department also, the central department, is also doing that. And we have started that a few years ago. Right now, that stands at about 2 inches as a book. I was talking to, CREDAI took me to address a CPWD presentation meeting once. CPWD guys tell me that their one is about 5-6 inches thick. The problem that happens there, it is fine. We can create all these organization standards that the door has to be this size, the corridor has to be this size, etc., etc. Who is checking it? When that drawing comes in, or we hand it over to the consultant, is the consultant reading my Mahabharat? Ghanta pad raha hai, kuch nahi pad raha hai. They are doing what the basic stuff that we are telling them to do. When they are sending back the drawing, are our people checking it? My own team? Can they actually check a 2-inch thick of such standards that everything has happened or not? Okay, I have trained 4 guys. 2 of them left 6 months later. What do? I train again. I'm getting into this whole training circle. What this new software is doing, that we have these bunch of preliminary drawings, and I'm telling you, I mean, all these are softwares or applications that we are talking about without me mentioning the brand. If anybody wants to know the brand, you can get in touch with me outside the forum. Sorry, is there something wrong? So a drawing package moves from what we call schematic to the final design documents. Now, what happens in between is these applications create the design rules that the drawings have to pass through. And if the drawing is in beam, then this happens almost, I mean, depending on the volume, in a few hours, to be very frank. It can check for developers' own standard. That is what we are working right now. But by logic, this can move on to local bylaws, to national codes, to international good practices also. If we feed the software in all these things, it's a big task. But here is why I wanted to present this over here. My own standards are my own standards. That will be in the software or in the application that I have instituted. However, if other localities, other locations pick up, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Bangalore, Lucknow, Kanpur, and you input in that software the local bylaws, there is nothing proprietary about it. If every location contributes to this, then we can create this national compliance check that will help us. What it does is then the drawing passes through this, and only then we call it the final design documents. And then if there are any future changes, it again goes to this route. So the final design document is always compliant. And that compliance is what we are looking for, and is always another pain point that we developers have. That drawings go in and then they come back with red marks from the municipalities, and that's not very nice. I will move on. So basically this is a kind of output that application gives. It gives a model health report. So how good is my model? How many errors are there? How many non-compliances are there? What needs to be done? What can be purged, etc., etc. So in its current form, it is still under development. We are working with the company to get our organization done, but we look forward to moving it into the whole national, local, and even international bylaws stuff. And that is where I think this will be extremely important for everybody. At one shot, you can get a compliant drawing. Now, we have spoken about design in my first two. Let's move on to the construction side of it. I'm just skipping procurement right now. It's a little complicated issue. That's the middle as far as we are concerned, design, procurement, and construction. In construction, this is something that interests us because the costs are coming down, and this is nothing new. Drones have been taking photographs for us for literally years now, maybe decades. We have been using this for marketing. We have been flying it over to do surveys. But there are some very interesting things happening. drones are not just taking photographs, and if they're taking photographs, they're still taking photographs. It is what the back-end softwares are doing by taking that photograph and extracting information out of it. When you take a drone photograph, or the earlier drone photographs, common sense tells us that it will always have some perspective distortion. However, the back-end softwares now are completely flattening them in a way that we can actually overlay them on my large master plan or even my building. And not only that, we are actually taking dimensions out of it to check if every dimension is as per my drawings or not. Not only that, even now they're measuring depth. And this is a very successful pilot which we have run. By the way, what we do with these new technologies, or my Digitech team does, is that out of 100, maybe we select 5 to run certain pilots in certain project. If the pilots are right, and every DLF is a pretty large organization and we have to get a lot of people on board, maybe out of 5, 1 will actually go into production. This pilot has been one of the very satisfactory one and will probably go into use. When this drone photograph has started taking the depth by running it over here, it has opened up a few fields. I'll tell you how. Let's take excavation. Now it can run over an excavated field and tell me the excavation quantity that I can verify with my billing. Now that the buildings are coming up, one building is in second floor level, the next building or the next block or the third block is another floor level. We are running these drones regularly on top, and we are generating concrete quantity data. We are generating monthly report almost instantly. Earlier, 3 young guys would take a week to prepare these monthly reports. We are making these monthly reports in 48 hours on the progress for that month. It's just the increase of efficiency, and there is no chance, absolutely no chance of any hera-fairy in that data. And that is very important for the upper management to make sure. There is another interesting thing with this that we are trying out now, and I would like to point it out, because it is the rebars or the concreting when you do on the slabs. You have laid the rebars. What happens then? The contractor's guy, the consultant's engineer, and the developer's engineer would go there, check whether everything is as per drawing, sign off something, and that will be there, and the concrete gets poured, and it's buried forever. What we are doing now is, in between that gap, we are running a drone. We are keeping a record that this rebar has been laid this way. And again, using that, when I say that you can overlay that with the drawing, overlaying it with the drawing, we are making sure that the rebar, not only at the site level, we are keeping a record that it has happened that way. And any developer would know with the recent incidents that has happened in NCR, it is extremely important for us to keep these records and keep these compliances, right? So this is something we are trying out. We are extremely happy with the result till now, and we hope to take it to. This is just another example of what they are doing. We are actually, all the column alignments are getting checked with a drone, and making sure that all the column alignments, all the beam alignments, all the shaft alignments are as per drawings. And this all happens by one run within 48 hours. Last thing, and this is my last point today, so I guess will be within my 15 minutes, is concrete sensors. Again, not something extremely new. Concrete sensors have been here, but this item interested us because we are all, and I believe again from M, S, M, and L, everybody is considering the safety of our structures, and that is also of utmost importance. So what we found is this top left diagram. I'm sorry, it has just broken a bit because it has been spread a bit. What we have used are these little sensors that we bury into the concrete, tie it with the rebar, and then a couple of these sensors are then connected to a receiver, which is outside, which is reusable. Obviously, when I pour the concrete, the sensor will be lost, but the receiver can be reused. The receiver then uploads the data to the cloud processing, and it goes into an app or it goes into whatever. But what does the sensor do? We are trying to do two things. One is possible 100% successful. The second one, I'll come again. What we are trying to do over here is, again, there are a lot of marketing junks I have taken up from their stuff, so I'll cut through the crap and just talk about two things. Sorry, it's not yet, thank you. I have just one slide. So I'll cut through the crap and so number one is the short-term gain. The short-term gain is in the first 3, 4, 5 months, when you have poured the concrete, you are measuring the concrete strength how? By cube tests. And that is notorious once again. Very, very manipulable and very manual. So what this does is, we are currently using it as a parallel check because it updates live data. And I showed the dashboard in my previous slide, that live data of strengthening of concrete, whether it's achieving strength or not, and live data every minute, every second. So I have stared at this screen for half an hour. It's as exciting as watching the paint dry, but you can come back at 6 hours or every 24 hours and check what is the development that is happening, which that sensor is sending outside. Yes, laws still will require us to do cube tests, but what we are doing is verifying and double checking that there is no manipulation, and the two match within a certain close percentage. So that's a short-term solution. But sir, there is something that we are working with this company on a long-term solution. The long-term solution is, we are trying to say that if we have embedded these sensors, why can't it give us feedback over the lifetime, over 20 years, over 30 years? Now just imagine what it does. It tells our customers, the people who are buying our houses, that you will get a monthly report on the strength of your building, which is coming from inside the concrete. Right? But it's not just a marketing ploy. That's not how we work, then that's not how we should work. It should work by actually doing it. There is, when we spoke to 2 or 3 companies who are doing this, both in India and abroad, the reason we got is right now, those sensors that I showed, they are working with a battery, which is a 12-volt battery. And battery always has a life, and that life now is 4 to 6 months. If we can stretch it to 6 months, they are saying 4 months, the concrete will take get your whole strength, and if you are satisfied, you don't need it more. So we argued with them that why don't we, there are so many conduits in my slab again, and you only need 3 or 4 for a floor slab like that. We will need 4 in the corner, 4 corners, so I can supply electricity to that. There are certain logistic problems and certain technical problems, so they have to modify their sensors. That is what one research is going on. And they have to also, we have to step down that 12-volt battery versus a 220-volt electric supply. So somewhere there has to be a transformer which steps this down. Then the question is, who maintains that transformer for 30 years when we are not there, or the RWA takes over, and so on and so forth. So a few of these logistic problems that we are sorting out, but I'm pretty happy that these things, if we are able to do, this is not just about a large company or a large city. This should percolate into every segment of everything. Now, I just want to conclude by saying one thing, is that what I said today, or what a few things, my team has actually prepared about 20 of these menus for me that I go on, I pick up 4 or 5 as required in various forums. What we are talking about here is not trying to tell you that here is XYZ company, go and buy from them. Here is XYZ.com, you can buy this from them. New technology by definition is new technology. It's a developing technology. And when we have to look at it, yes, we have to look at it, what it can do for me today, but we need to also have a vision that what is its position, or where will it develop tomorrow or day after or 1 year later, or even 30 years later in some cases, like I said. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep, for that very informative presentation. If there are any questions, we will take it after Ms. Garima finishes.
While they put on the presentation, thank you everybody for having me here and for providing an opportunity to somebody like me who's running a very young company. It's a privilege and honor to be in front of you, everybody here, and while the slides will play, I will talk a little about construction, but I will also talk a lot more than technology. I want everybody of us here sitting in this room to feel proud about the country. The theme is reimagining India. So let's reimagine India and let's feel proud of what is happening in the country. Mr. Roy has already done half of my job beautifully well, so I will have to divulge a little less onto the technology part, but let's go ahead. This is the new world order. What is this world order? Since yesterday, we all have assembled here in this room to talk about construction. Each and everybody of us, in some way or the other, is directly or indirectly related to making India reach to the top third spot in the global construction market. We are at a 5th position today, but in 2030, we are going to be at 3rd position, occupying a 7% of this market. So first of all, let's feel proud about each and everybody, what we are trying to do in the smallest and the biggest ways for us to be reaching here. The India growth story, we have reimagined India, we've done things in India, and since the India is reimagined, where are we? The Indian real estate market is looking at reaching $1 trillion by 2030. And that is how we are going to be number 3 in the world. We are going to be contributing a 13% to the GDP. Mr. Irani said a very wonderful point yesterday that while we say that we are going to be probably 13%, in a sense we would be 47% because of the number of industries we touch. Steel, cement, banking, and whatnot. The construction market works with about 250 subsectors. That is as big as it can get. And that is why a construction doing well in any country is always pivotal to how beautifully or wonderfully that country grows. We employ about 51 million people today in our country in this segment, directly or indirectly. And with this also, we are talking about a skill shortage. So that is the amount of people that are required to be running this industry, even on a rocket jet. The union budget is a testament to what this industry is looking like. The amount of money that in the capital that will be provided to this industry talks about what the future of the industry is going to look like with a 33% increase in the capex outlay. Then I wanted to bring about a few things that why is industry growing so much? Offices, we all know about it, that offices have grown. But what has happened in a post-COVID world is that people are not going to cities to do jobs, but cities are coming to people. And that is why we see a lot of satellite offices. Also, we've seen an absorption of about 20 to 24% last year, which will continue this year. We will also see a growth of about 20% in construction and office spaces because now people are not only building offices in metro cities which are already saturated, but satellite offices, the remote jobs, what they have done is actually a push for the tier 1 and tier 2, which is helping grow a 15% of annual business in these emerging markets. Why I put 3 cities here is that because these 3 cities, the tier 1, the tier 2 markets, Lucknow, Jaipur, Coimbatore, they have exploded a lot because there is already a lot of skilled and employable people who are present in these cities, which are helping to bring about more and more people from these cities into a skilled white label workforce. Homes is dear to all of us. Yesterday, everybody of us spoke a lot about homes, and we continue to speak a lot about homes. That's because they are the fulcrum. They are the basis of a country doing well when everybody gets a roof to stay. As Honorable Prime Minister says, that it is not only the four walls, but somebody's dignity that resides inside the houses. So where are we right now? The housing sector is supposed to increase 25%. The reason that you see, there's a graph to the right-hand side, which shows the demand and the supply. When you grow from a high to a low-income group, the demand is increasing, but unfortunately, the supply is not being met. It was already a deficit of about 20 million units across the housing, and it is going to increase twofold by 2030. While there has been a lot of impetus given by the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and as well as all the big developers are trying to fulfill the needs in the construction by creating more houses, better houses for all kinds of people. But still, what it looks like is that the increasing urbanization, which will push 650 million more people to be staying in urban centers, would require much more construction to be happening in this department. The demand in the tier 2 and the tier 3 cities have increased by 25%. All of us who have been to any tier 2 cities, there was never a flat culture before. Everybody used to stay in their houses. किसी का घर यहाँ है, उसका पता है 1,XYZ. अब ऐसा नहीं है. People have started staying in flats. There is a lot of demand, but the supply continues to be in the deficit. A lot of us are visiting Varanasi for the first time. A few of us have visited it many times before. What has changed is the number of hotels for sure. So there are a lot of new hotels which have been constructed in Varanasi. 22nd of January marks a very important day in Ayodhya. There will be 4 lakh people who will be visiting Ayodhya, and there are already many hotels which have been constructed and are touted to be constructed. What is happening? Spiritual tourism. What else is happening? People are discovering incredible India. It could be Lakshadweep very soon. Or it could be a lot more other cities which are being discovered. They were tourist spots. People used to go out. Now people have realized we have beaches, we have mountains, we have beautiful places which have never been covered. So what is happening because of that? Well, 200 new hotels are going to be constructed. About 25,000 rooms will be added to the inventory. So what has online shopping added to is definitely a lot of convenience, but also what it has added to is about $1 billion. Yeah. So what it has also added to is $1 billion to the industry. During COVID times, all of us learned, and our parents also learned to shop online. Amazon, Myntra, Flipkart, and whatnot. That gave rise to so many companies where you could easily go and click and buy. But who actually benefited? The logistics parks. Today, we have the likes of Mapletree, Evan Home, Logos, and whatnot. And it has actually contributed to a growth of about 16% that we've already seen, which is going to grow further, about a 20% increase in capacity. Bigger and bigger warehouses are being created month on month. They say data is the new oil. Well, data center is the new engine running on that oil, which is shown by a 35% increase that the data centers are seeing. Every large organization from Amazon to Google is now setting up their centers in India, and not just that, there are a lot of local companies developing data centers. A great push is from the government. Government is trying something very interesting. It is called containerized data centers. So if you want a small data center, you need not go for an entire huge setup, but container services, which is now going to increase the numbers much further. So the data centers, thanks to the cloud services, the OTT subscriptions we take, the data that we use on a day-to-day basis, is giving a lot of impetus to this. Retail has become more experiential. It is no more about go to a mall, buy and come back. It is about going there, eating there, entertainment, watching a movie, playing, going to a food court, and the numbers speak for themselves. We are going to touch 2 trillion by 2032. And we all would have witnessed it. In all of the cities that we reside in, there are more and more malls coming up. Initially, people would think, who would go? But maybe ask the people from Palladium, they would know what is happening in Mall of Asia, where there are 1 lakh people standing outside the mall wanting to go inside. And with that also, people are constructing more malls because people now want to experience these things more than ever, and hence the interest in not only malls, but even standalone retail stores. But with so many upsides also come a lot of challenges. There's a lot of construction which is needed to happen. The supply and the demand already creates a shortage. There are a lot of project delays which are there, which were supposed to be completed, but the delays are of years and not months. The supply demand definitely still has unmet expectations. Sustainability is one thing which has come to the forefront of all kinds of construction, which continues to be a lot of pressure, but at the same time, a challenge for people to how to get into it. Life cycle management and safety and compliance are again 2 things which the labor today, which is working on the construction site, seem to be concerned about. And to every challenge, generally the answer is technology. And I will probably be reiterating a lot of things that Mr. Roy has spoken about and introduce a couple of new things. So BIM, what Mr. Roy has wonderfully already spoken about, I will just reiterate what a BIM does. Now think of it to be one collaborative tool. It is one platform in which different stakeholders can have their own login. I am an architect, you are a developer, somebody else is a general contractor, somebody is an electrical contractor, somebody is a HVAC contractor. All of us are now logging in to one single simple platform. Once that we log in, we are all doing our tasks. What it helps us to do is that while I am an architect, I also know how is the construction of this place happening. Also, you can choose your rivets while I choose my design, how I want to put the lights. But my HVAC contractor thinks that my design is not very conducive. So he can go and change things there. What it helps us do is collaborate in a way which was not possible before. BIM is of 6 types. BIM 0 to BIM 6. While BIM 0 is very basic, I should tell you a little more about BIM 6. BIM 6 also helps you introduce an aspect of energy efficiency and sustainability, which means when you opt for a BIM 6, you already can tell what is the amount of energy you will be saving in your building, which is a forecast, which was never done before. And how is that done? Because every stakeholder of the building worked collaboratively. HVAC person put in, this is the load capacity, this is the design, the energy guy put in something else, the contractor did their own bit, I put my rivets, I put my design, and with this, what you have is not only a conceptual design, but actually an actionable. You can change things from here. So now taking a step back, what does it do? It saves a lot of time, first of all. You don't have to create something just to realize it was wrong all along the way. Also, it saves time and money. We are all collaborating at the same time. It in fact leads to about a 20% increase in efficiency of construction because everybody is working together on one single model. There is never a saying, oh, you know, this is the old file, this is the new file. No. There is one single file on which every change is depicted real time. Then the construction costs are reduced by 15% because you're not building it to break it, for sure. It also facilitates a sustainable design. As I mentioned, BIM 6 helps you create structures for the future, helps you forecast. Precast technology, not very new now. A lot of us pass through a site and say, oh, a building is going to come up here. The next time, 8 months later when we pass, oh, the building has already come up here. How is it happening? It is not happening because somebody is churning the cement and then cementing everything and becoming it from ground up. My parents, we created our own house in our native city, and it took years. Every evening, they used to take us to water that cement. And I remember it has taken about 3.5 years to create that small house also. But now, when I look at hotels being constructed at a breakneck speed, that's because of the precast. It helps you create molds of your structure, which can be reused over and over. So you have a mold, you have a design, and in that mold, now you can put your cement, which can come to your site, which helps in delivering projects on time. Look at metros, look at hotels, look at hospitals. Nobody is constructing things from scratch. If they would, our supply and demand would be worse than what it is right now. What it also helps us do is build it faster, and faster is just not a number, it's a 50% increase in the speed of constructing it. About a 20% reduction in the construction cost because it is built to be reused. You don't have to, again, create a wall of concrete, break it down just to understand this was not working all the way along. AR and VR, these technologies were talked about. We've seen a lot of pictures of them and videos of them. The problem is in actuation, we might have not seen it, but today we are, because they are being used. Using AR and VR technology, you can mix a physical definition of an asset to a digital one. You think of it, what tools are doing today, even when you're constructing your home and you try to do a 3D render, you can check your wall paint, your wallpaper, the kind of table that is going to come inside, while none of it exists in the physical world. And that is because these technologies leverage on an extension of a virtual reality, which does not exist, but can exist or should exist. It helps you choose things much before you actually go out and build them or buy them. It helps architects, it helps builders, it helps buyers. During COVID, people have done a lot of walkthroughs, 3D walkthroughs of the houses that they would have wanted to buy. And I think COVID has pushed construction to really a brink of technology uptick. With this, not only a walkthrough for a consumer or a builder, but training and safety is again something that is gaining a lot of traction. People are using augmented reality to upskill the workers, because somebody who's really not worked in a construction site but would be working in a very risk-taking environment can be using augmented and virtual reality to imagine what that environment would be looking like and then getting upskilled on it. And there are a lot of companies who are already working on it, from a welding service to a concrete laying service. They're learning all of it through AR and VR. Smart building is something which actually is a reality now. I will not even say people are talking about it. The reason is that when we talk about sustainable buildings, what comes into play is things like a centralized system of automation, a building management system. We are all sitting here today. The lights are on, the AC are on. Who's doing it? It is nobody's job to be turning things on and off if it's not your entire house, which means that there needs to be a central system to every building which should be managing that building. What it also helps does is get certification for the buildings, from a GEM to IGBC to WELL certification. People are opting more and more for green buildings and green certification because that is being building for the future. The energy modeling across these also helps in achieving up to 30% of energy efficiency before the building even starts. Drones, Mr. Roy has already spoken about it, so just quickly recapping, what it helps us do is get into places which are so far-flung and remote, which a person cannot see, but a drone can survey. It also helps in keeping the project timelines under control, because somebody centrally sitting elsewhere wants to see what is happening in Meghalaya and Shillong, can easily see it, be it a valley or be it a highway. You can see everything sitting at one place right now. And with this technology, it has just simplified how we view structures. It has simplified a way in which we understand the progress of any site in which the construction is happening. The picture that you see here is pretty interesting. While I put 3D here, this is an actual 3D house which was constructed in IIT Madras in 6 days. Yes, in 6 days, not even a week. This is the house which was inaugurated in 2021 by our finance minister. What 3D does is, again, since the concept of 3D is doing things faster, the timelines are crunched, the costs are crunched by 15 to 20% because it's largely the machinery which is doing the job and not so much so the people. People are building that technology. You can choose your own design. You need not go with the design which is prefixed. That is what a 3D is meant for. You can choose your own design. The sustainability and the waste reduction of the material is almost a saving of about 60%. And the strength and the durability has been proven to be about 25 to even 50% higher at certain parts. In fact, in Qatar, when the 2022 World Cup happened, there were a lot of pods which were created for retail and for people to stay through 3D because there is no other way in which things can happen at such a faster speed. And then finally, retrofitting. I've spoken a lot about construction, how to build things faster, how to build things better, but what about the things that have been already built? The buildings which have been built require a system to be able to run them more efficiently and better. For any building which was constructed 25 years back, 30 years back, also needs a way in which it can sustainably manage running its operation, be it energy, be it water, or be it any other building ops that is required to be run. This is being possible now. With wireless and cloud as a capability which exists with companies today, there are wireless building management systems available in the market. There are cloud native building management systems available in the market, which helps these buildings do retrofits like never before. You can have this wireless technology running building operations from anytime, anywhere, be it your HVAC system, be it electrical system, be it the water treatment plants, and whatsoever. So it is equally important that the buildings that have been constructed also come onto a tangent curve of sustainability. With this, though my presentation ends, but what I want to say is a few more lines. अपने मन में एक लक्ष्य लिए, मंजिल अपनी प्रत्यक्ष लिए, हम तोड़ रहे हैं जंजीरें, हम बदल रहे हैं तस्वीरें. ये नवयुग है, नव भारत है, खुद लिखेंगे अपनी तकदीरें. हम निकल पड़े हैं प्रण करके, अपना तन मन अर्पण करके. जिद है एक सूर्य उगाना है, अंबर से ऊंचा जाना है. एक भारत नया बनाना है, एक भारत नया बनाना है. Thank you so much, everybody, for your patient listening.
Yeah, thank you, Garima. I've been given time only for one question. There are eyeballs popping up there. All of us are very excited to hear about new technologies, all these inventions and how they can be used. But majority of us sitting in this hall are from Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, building smaller projects. How would the cost part, what's the cost part involving in using these newer technologies? Mr. Sandeep? Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So the tougher part of that question is that these are new technologies, right? So it is under development. It is, in many cases, okay, the BIM part is easy. I can give you some idea. I mean, that has been there for a long time. Let me answer the easier part then. BIM has been around for a long time, and there is a kind of perception that the country hasn't picked up BIM because of lack of technical people. That's completely wrong. India is already a backhouse of US doing a lot of drawings here. There are technical people available, only that they're earning in dollars and not taking our project because we are not being able to generate the quantity. And that is why I'm saying they are also running, these BIM companies are also running into some amount of oversupply, and if we try to push it, we try to patronize it, for the simple reason of the advantages than the cost to start with. I'll come to the cost. All these costs will come down. All of the technology costs will come down. As far as we are concerned, at our scale of projects, our extra cost is somewhere around 10 rupees to 12 rupees a square feet, which is seriously peanuts. at smaller scale, I still don't see, I have tried some small pilots with them earlier, I still don't see it's going up more than 20 rupees. I really don't know what kind of margins that the tier 2 or tier 3 work out, so I don't know if that is a good number or bad number. But as more and more of us run through this, there are people who are there and these costs will come down. As far as the lot of other technologies I spoke about, drone running that we are doing, and I'll be very frank, some of these pilots have been run for DLF at literally peanuts because they want to be on board of ours. So even at a commercial scale, 30-40 acre site, a drone run doing overlap will not cost you anything more than 30,000-40,000 rupees. Okay? Per run. If you want it a one time, then that's it. If you want to keep on progressing, then that's like that number into per month. Again, it's not a big deal right now. The other two, I will really not be commenting on stage because again, the other two, which is the concrete sensor, we are working with an Israeli company and an Indian company. There is a serious price difference, but there is also a quality difference. The sensors of the Israeli company is sensing on 4 parameters of the concrete's health, and they are the only one who are at least trying to change their sensors to get into a long-term pilot, while the Indian companies are doing it at 1/3 the cost, but they're at this point of time not committing anything more than 3 or 4 months. I'm not going into the specific numbers.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep, and thank you, Garima, too. I think we've run short of time. We have overshot a lot. Thank you both for this wonderful presentation, very informative. Thank you once again.
Thank you, and may I request Mr. S. Sridharan and Mr. Vishal Gupta to please join us here on the stage in presenting the mementos. So thank you to Mr. Sandeep Roy, who spoke to us about these technologies in design, technologies in construction, and Garima talking about technologies which can make you more decisive, futuristic technologies, technologies which can deliver to zero effect, zero defect, towards cost efficiency, time efficiency. Thank you to both of you, and thank you to our moderator, Mr. Ahmed. Thank you.